My teen male, mom and dad, separated when I was 9. My dad eventually remarried my stepdad, Brian, and my mom remarried my stepdad, Joe. Both I and my older brother, Cam, 18 male, hate Joe. He's homophobic and misogynistic, and so are his sons, teen and nearly adult, and we have no idea why our mom likes him. Luckily, Cam can just stay at dad's. Joe and his boys dislike me because I'm not a traditionally masculine sports guy. I play in a band with some friends. A few are queer, and I like flowers, etc. Even though I'm just straight and have a girlfriend because I'm pretty non-conforming, they don't think I'm being manly enough. My dad and Brian are my safe place. They come to all my artsy stuff and support me, unlike my mom, Joe, or stepbrothers. So I try to spend as much time with them over at my dad's. Joe always tries to get me to try out for sports or work out with their sons to put some hair on my chest. I got my permit last month, and my dad and Brian have been teaching me how to drive. My mom thought it'd be a great idea to have Joe try to teach me so we could bond. I wanted to tell her no, that Dad and Brian were already teaching me, but she wouldn't have it. 2 days ago, Joe took me out driving, and we got like 30 minutes from the house. All the while, he was telling me how to do stuff I had already learned from my dad and Brian. I told him that, and he went on this rant about how he probably knows better, and he's trying to keep me from ending up like Brian and my dad. I asked what he meant by that, and he told me like a sissy, and that I needed to man up. We had to pull over for gas. I was angry, so after we filled up and he went in to get something, I drove off and left him there. I went home, and I ignored his calls. He ended up having to get an Uber home. To say that my mom and him were angry is an understatement. I told her what he'd said, and she told me that was no reason to do something like that, and grounded me. So I had Cam pick me up and take me over to Dad's, and I've been ignoring Mom's and Joe's calls. Am I the idiot? Not the idiot. You took Joe's advice. You manned up and made the right decision. He's a total loser and idiot. Stay with your dad and only see Mom if you can without being around Joe. Joe kept stirring the pot, and you just handed it to him to have lunch. Joe has proven himself to be awful. You were forced to go with him, and he lost his chance to be a teacher. Probably not great you left him there, but I have no sympathy for him. People may see this as you throwing a fit over your mom remarrying or you being grounded, but this isn't rebellious teen behavior. This is I'm in a toxic environment and have the ability to leave for a safe space behavior. Do what you need to. Staying safe and happy is more important than humoring morons or their spouses, regardless of relation to you. Exactly. Your stepdad and his loser children can just keep that BS to themselves. I completely understand why you wouldn't want to spend time with hateful people like them. As far as your mom, there's usually a reason why someone protects a homophobe and their actions. Your mom is no help because she doesn't view their actions as wrong. And even if she hasn't said things directly, she certainly isn't stopping them. I would try to stay with your dad as much as possible. I'm 100% with you. I can understand having no tolerance for idiots, but next time, just get an Uber yourself so that you aren't committing a crime. Joe isn't worth putting your future in jeopardy over. Not trying to nitpick, but is it a crime to abandon an adult? Or is it stealing the car that's the issue? Huh? Everyone's the idiot. The everyone's the idiot part is that, as someone with his learner's permit, it was unsafe for you to drive without an experienced driver. So you were the idiot, a bit to yourself, other drivers, and the people who care about you. I'm so sorry you're going through this. It's awful. And I hope your dad can get you out of that living situation. You're young and made a rash and poor decision in the heat of the moment, and I sincerely hope things get better for you. I've lived with my girlfriend, Sarah, for 2 years now. Sarah has a teen sister, Tara. Tara lives with their parents, but Sarah and Tara have a very rocky relationship with their parents. Nothing too bad, but it's toxic nonetheless. For the last 6 months or so, Tara has begun staying over at the apartment that me and Sarah share. I've always been somewhat uncomfortable with this, mainly because it's common for Sarah, who works from home, to let Tara skip school and come spend the day with her. She says it's better than her being on the streets, but I digress. My biggest problem is that Tara trashes the place and disrespects me. Tara doesn't like me. I don't know why. Sarah doesn't know why. She's incredibly disrespectful to me and my things, eats my food despite being told not to on a nearly weekly basis, and borrows this or that from the apartment with no intent to ever return them. I've been at my wit's end over this for the last month, and I feel like Tara's testing my limits more and more. I've told both of them that if something doesn't change soon, I'll lose my cool. But every conversation ends with Sarah committing to things that never happened, and Tara being non-committal or just disinterested in my feelings. It came to a head Friday. Sarah had gotten off work early and left Tara alone. I came home to the place absolutely trashed. This I could handle. What I could not was that Tara had pulled out some of my vinyls to listen to, scratched them to heck, and just left them on the table and ground when she got bored. When I confronted her and asked her what had happened, she shrugged her shoulders and said nothing. I absolutely lost it. I told her exactly what I thought of her, how she was selfish, ungrateful, lazy, and downright unpleasant. I commented that if this is how she is at home, I now know why her parents don't want her in their house. I could tell she was taken off guard by my yelling, and the parents' comment caused her to start crying. I kicked her out and told her not to come back. Sarah lost it, and we fought. We've been pretty cold since then. She's talking about moving out, but at this point, I'm starting to consider that myself. Last night, however, Sarah finally decided to tell me that Tara tried to run away last year, and she made a deal with her that our apartment could be her safe space whenever she needed it, so she didn't run away again. I still don't feel like this makes what she did right, but at the same time, knowing this, I'm starting to feel bad. Not the idiot. Your girlfriend didn't tell you she was declaring your home a safe space and did nothing to encourage Tara to behave like a guest rather than a squatter. Tara needs more than just a safe space. Safe space doesn't mean you can trash the place. A safe space is where you go to be free of harm, pressure, judgment, and unreasonable expectations, not where you go to ruin the peace of others or be completely free of consequences. It's not unusual for someone to act out in their safe space, but it is unreasonable for OP's girlfriend to assume that OP would be okay with it, mainly because they said it upset them. Tara's safe space doesn't come before the fact that it is OP's actual home. Little sister just sounds like she didn't like the rules at home, and she doesn't want to follow any rules there either. Let Sarah move out and take Tara in. Let this relationship go. Sarah makes promises she can't keep. Tara treats you like crap. Let it go. You were forced into the role of a surrogate parent to a troubled teenager with whom you can't set boundaries. You won't win this. It'll never end. Sarah's more committed to her sister than to you. It's understandable. The kid has no place to go and no one else. But unless you want to be involved in this mess, you need to get out of it. Best of luck to you. Last Thursday, I, 36 male, got a call from my son's school telling me I needed to come and collect him because he had passed out during class. My son has passed out a good few times before, so we've made sure he knows what to do when he starts to feel faint to ensure he doesn't hurt himself. However, when I arrived at the school, my son was holding an ice pack to his head. When I asked about it, the nurse told me he had hit his head when he fell. I wondered why he hadn't laid down, as we taught him to do. I brushed it off and decided to ask him about it later, as he was still kind of out of it. The next day I asked him about it, and what he told me made my blood boil. Apparently, when my son first started to feel like he was going to pass out, he tried to tell his teacher. When he stood up to talk to her, he was immediately yelled at to sit back down. The next time he tried to tell her, she told him that he didn't look sick, so he wasn't allowed to go to the nurse's office. Then his class was doing an activity that required standing for practically the rest of the lesson. Before the activity started, my son, yet again, told his teacher that he felt like he was going to pass out and asked if he could sit the activity out. The teacher responded by yelling at him, claiming he was just being lazy and was making excuses. My son's friend was getting worried about him, so he told the teacher, who then started yelling at his friend, accusing them both of trying to get out of the lesson. Not even a minute later, my son passed out. According to his friend and a couple of other classmates, she acted shocked, as if she hadn't ignored him, trying to tell her how he felt for the last 5 minutes. I'm extremely worried about the impact that this will have on my son, as when the fainting first started, he didn't tell any of his teachers, as he was scared that they would yell at him. This resulted in quite a few injuries from falling. It's taken a while for him to start telling them when he's feeling faint, and I'm afraid this incident will cause him to stop asking, and he'll hurt himself. I wanted to go to school that day, but my son stayed off, and my wife wasn't home from work yet. The following Monday, I arranged an appointment with the principal. After I had explained what happened, he called in my son's teacher, who tried to deny that he had told her anything and that he had just randomly collapsed. This is where I may be the idiot. By this point, I was angry. I began screaming at her about how my son could have gotten hurt. I was so angry that I hadn't even noticed that she'd started to cry. By that point, I was asked to leave by the principal. My wife and some of my friends think I'm in the right, but my parents and the other half of my friends think I went too far. I don't know about this one. What do you guys think? Am I the idiot? Not the idiot. The teacher repeatedly yelled at your son, scolded him, caused him to injure himself physically, and quite possibly scared him away from communicating his needs in the future. She's a bully. When confronted, she started lying to cover up her behavior and eventually crying. Boo-hoo. That's what bullies do. Bully, lie, then cry when not let off the hook. Your losing your cool is completely understandable. Your parents don't need to have an opinion about it, and your wife is in your corner. Consult a lawyer. I bet the principal won't ask a lawyer to leave. She likes yelling at kids, but can't handle being yelled at. Seems hypocritical. Sometimes manipulative people cry to get out of situations where they're at fault. It would have been different if she hadn't lied about the situation and apologized, but good for you for standing up for your child. Teachers have been using the "you don't look sick" line for years. It drove me crazy as a kid, and it drives me crazy now as a 33-year-old. What is sick supposed to look like? I think she needed that dose of reality for her negligence and dishonesty. She literally endangered your child's life because he didn't look sick. I don't remember those school floors being very soft. If he hits his head the right way, it can cause lifelong complications. With that in mind, having your son looked over might not hurt, even if he says he feels fine. He was just taught not to talk about feeling unwell, so he might try and hide it if he's not feeling 100%. Well, your kid is your world. Obviously, the teacher's not going to come clean. However, you may need to have your son's side confirmed by a classmate, as sadly, you're only getting it from your son's perspective. FYI, not calling your son a liar. I'm simply saying that there are two sides to every story. My 28 male friends and I have potluck parties occasionally. One of our rules is that it has to be store or restaurant bought. We had a food poisoning incident, so we just said no homemade dishes. Everyone's been cool with it. At our most recent one, a friend invited someone that I had never met before. She's 20s female, brought her own homemade dish. I guess it was communicated that it was a potluck, but not our rule. Whatever. The first time we left the dish out, she brought mashed potatoes. I took a serving, noticed some dark spots, and I thought it was just pepper. I felt something weird in my mouth and fished it out. It was animal hair. I played around with it and found a few more. I was absolutely revolted and threw the dish away. I didn't care that it was mostly full and people were in line for food. I immediately got yelled at for throwing it away. I tell her the dish had animal hair in it. It's disgusting. I ask her if she's trying to make us all sick. She starts crying, calls me an idiot, and just leaves the party. I discovered she has 4 dogs. I would have never gotten a scoop of potatoes if I had known that. It was pretty mixed in how I handled it. Am I the idiot? I can't imagine anything worse than a potluck where everything is store-bought. Ha ha. Dog hair mashed potatoes or not, your potluck sounds horrible. Even a store-bought potato salad can make everyone sick if handled incorrectly. It's not like food safety's hard. Keep stuff at the proper temperature, wash your hands, and don't cross-contaminate with raw meat or fish. Everyone's the idiot. Maybe take a group safety course instead of having a potluck, LOL. The group sounds rather insufferable and uneducated on food standards. I thought nobody was supposed to know what other people were bringing. That's why it's called luck. Can you imagine them cutting up store-cooked chicken, then a store-bought salad, and thrice warmed potato salad with mayo, and wondering why they don't feel well? OP, you are the idiot. Yes, the dish needed to be thrown away, but you could have handled it better. Nobody wants that sort of public humiliation, and it could have been a side conversation instead of something so dramatic. Just pull her aside and let her know. She would have probably gotten rid of it herself. She's not even an idiot, just made a mistake and wasn't careful enough. Was it right? No, but it wasn't an idiot move. My son, nearly adult, is a head coach at a large martial arts gym. He's been in martial arts since he was 5. He's a black belt in 2 disciplines and has won numerous competitions, if you're wondering how he's a head coach at his age. The gym is large and has always been primarily male, usually 1 to 3 female students, but currently it's all male. However, an all-female boxing gym closed near my son's gym, and they've started to get a flow of women and girls looking to join. They've been turned away. Once I heard about all these women and girls being turned away, I asked my son why the instructor, the owner, was doing that. My son said it was himself turning away women and girls because many of the male students were concerned about awkward or inappropriate physical behaviors and incidents. Yet that day, my son helped welcome 4 gay/queer young men. I called the gym owner, and he said he was unaware of what my son was doing, but he trusted my son's judgment because he was at the gym more than he was. He then said they wouldn't lose money by being a male-only martial arts gym. I told my son he was being misogynistic. He disagreed and said I just don't understand. I made him quit yesterday. I've since gotten the silent treatment from my son and 8 phone calls from the owner and other gym staff. Am I the idiot? Not the idiot. That mentality has made women second-class citizens since the dawn of time. It's not a 15th century ship. He has the full support of the boss because he's equally misogynistic. Your son needs to learn from you. Don't tell me mixed clubs are riddled with inappropriate body drama. Come on. Sure, teenagers will always be teenagers, but most people go there to work out, not spray their hormones all around. People, no matter their shape, size, or gender. People. Unfortunately, people like your son continue to exist. Try to shape him into a better human being. I can see you have your head on straight. Everyone's the idiot here. There are 2 separate problems here. Is your son an idiot for being misogynistic? Yes. Did you just force someone to quit an adult job they've obviously spent a lot of their young life training towards? Yes. There's a reason we don't normally allow kids adult jobs, because adults have their own beliefs and opinions, and they can be terrible opinions. That's one of the privileges of being an adult. An adult is allowed to do things as they see fit. So, obviously, you're punishing your kid for his beliefs. But what exactly do you think he's going to learn in a year? You've already had many years, and you haven't taught him values you approve of. Next year, he'll go back to his job and go back to teaching in the same way. The whole thing seems like a petty power play on your part. I don't like what you're doing, so you can't do that for a year. Great parenting.